right, welcome back, everyone. My name is Katelyn Hayes, and this is Samford CARES, the podcast. I'm the wellness coordinator here, so I get to have conversations each week with fun guests. And this week we have one of my favorites, Newman.
Hello, very glad to be back.
Glad to have you back. We are talking about physical wellness this month. Would love to hear how you've seen wellness over the last week or so, Hannah.
I'm wanting to put more focus on actually cooking more meals. So taking the time to cook more for myself. Towards the end of the semester, that dwindled for me. So refocusing on real food.
Yeah.
And the process of preparing it for me is like therapeutic as well. So yeah, been shifting towards that.
I feel like the switch of, I don't know about you, but I feel like I crave certain foods in certain seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes even just the change of season and the change of like seasonal vegetables or fruit or things like kind of reignites the curiosity and kind of creativity to cook.
Yeah, that's a good point. We are very seasonal people.
We are seasonal people. We're looking at physical wellness and how we take care of our bodies, and how I introduce this topic to students and staff is talking about that physical wellness is how we care for our bodies through choices and habits, not just what you do one time, not just what you do during the holidays or the first of the year, but what continuous choices and habits are we doing that helps care for ourselves. And then I also dive into, these are 4 common ways that you can kind of consider how you're caring for yourself through movement and physical mobility. Is that where you want it to be? And are you moving your body in some way that brings you joy?
Yeah.
Adequate nutrition. How are you fueling yourself? Maybe that changes with the seasons. Maybe that changes when we're busy, but in a standard state, do you have the food and nourishment that you need to fuel your activities? Sleep and rest, which I continue to hear in conversation talking with students and staff about how hard it is to prioritize that. And then overall, just stress management. We know from research and doctors that stress, particularly like long-term stress, has serious effects to your physical health. It causes inflammation. It causes stress on your cardiovascular system. It inflames like your nervous system, which sends people into that like kind of a constant state of anxiety or even just a prolonged state of anxiety. So working to do things that really help you live in the present moment can be a great way to relieve that. But just wanting to hear from your perspective and care and how you work with students, how often do you see these topics come up?
Daily, very often. I do. It's even specifically to my job and my role. If I'm meeting with a student, we're talking about what we call a care plan, which includes talking about your physical wellness. And the approach to a care plan is like, what are we doing now that's working? What's one thing we can add to the plan that can help things? And honestly, the physical wellness is always one of the steps that is first talked about. It feels most tangible, manageable, and it's going to impact everything else. We end up coming to that sleep or getting outside, movement is something. There are a lot of things we can't control in the day-to-day life in college, but one of those things end up being what we feel like, okay, I can take one step in that. I can set my alarm 30 minutes earlier to get outside for 15 minutes before I do anything else, or I can um, aim to go to bed 30 minutes earlier this week. Um, I can, those kinds of steps feel tangible, feel like they impact everything else. And so we end up talking about them a lot in this
Mm.
office. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was you or someone else I was talking to, but I feel like our physical and even like what we do for ourselves is the first thing that we neglect in times of stress and busyness. And um, it's almost the easiest to write off because it's not showing up for other people. Maybe someone else wouldn't notice, but it's what our body notices first, you know?
Totally. Yeah, I relate to that. It's the first thing to go for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me as well. Or it's a good mile marker for me. So maybe I don't intentionally cut back on sleep,
No, yeah.
but maybe my sleep quality goes down. Maybe it's harder to fall asleep and therefore it's harder to get up and go in the morning. Um, so to kind of dive into a couple of these conversations, because someone's goal may be very different than a friend's goal. Someone may not have problems walking around or going to the gym or being active, but they may have issues in other places. But there's a couple of different things that I like to note first. Um, I always like to highlight the research of Dr. Wendy Suzuki. She's the Dean of Arts and Sciences at New York University and is a professor of neuroscience and psychology at their Center of Neuroscience. But she does a ton of work on the benefits of exercise and even movement in the brain. Um, if you ever, she's done several TED Talks and she has several videos on her webpage, and I can link those down below if you don't have any capacity to read all of her wonderful stuff. She has some really great interviews that she's recorded that get to the heart of why we should keep movement. But she even talks about the importance of exercise and movement as it is accessible to you, whether it's cleaning with your headphones in, dancing around, whether it's taking a walk, whether it's going up and down the stairs in between meetings just to get some blood flowing and movement.
Mm-hmm.
She says what it does is that it helps build our neuroplasticity. So it helps build our new pathways and the way we process things in our brain. It helps our focus, our mood, and general, like long-term mental functions. It helps us combat anxiety and stress by regulating our nervous system. And then she even goes further in that it's regulating your nervous system because it's boosting those good hormones, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, no noradrenaline, and then your just endorphins in general. And all of that works to support and promote your frontal lobe, which I tell students is their like decision making. It's their character, it's how they show up in ways that they're proud of. And it helps their hippocampus. So that's long-term memory.
Yeah.
But would love to hear if any of this surprises you or where you think this information is an encouragement to people who are like, I only have 10 minutes or I only have 30 minutes or I haven't been doing this for a long time and I don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm. This feels relevant. Yesterday I work out at a CrossFit gym, but it's for the normal person. It's a very normal, modifiable.
I like your caveat there.
Yeah, I just want you to know I'm modifying everything. But my friend who had a baby like 5, 6 months ago went back yesterday for the first time. So proud of her, just doing what she can. And at the end, she goes, "Why do we do this? Why do we do this to ourselves?" And my response was, "For the mentals, for our brain." So I don't know. It feels maybe a little cheesy to say that, but it just the small decisions we make, the small deposits we make end up being a large bucket over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We only get one body,
Right.
and it stays with us our entire lives.
Yeah.
So even small, it's like an investment account. It's like a bank
Yes.
account.
Yeah.
If you have it and you put $10 in it and then you never do anything with it, you're not going to be able to get much more than $10 when you withdraw it out in 20 years. Um, and our physical health is the same way. Even little investments are investments.
Yeah.
So neat. I think this is especially important as students are processing this last semester. Spring has such a fast pace to it. The breaks are less than the fall semester, or at least they're not as long, or they're longer and not as many. So the balance between fall semester and spring semester feels very different. And then the weather changes halfway through to energize people and to push them to go further, even when they're tired. So it's a very different starting point and ending point than maybe students are prepared for in the fall. But this is a great time to reflect and consider, how did I feel at the beginning, middle, and end of this semester? Is that how I want to do it next time?
Yeah.
Am I feeling these stress hormones of cortisol just all in my body all the time? Or am I finding these intentional pockets where I can find the serotonin and the dopamine and the endorphins? Am I fueling my brain to help even out the stresses of work and school?
Definitely. That's a common conversation in my office as well, is we get to a point where we can look back. There will always be things that worked and things that didn't. And so what are a few things that did work? And where, yeah, like you said, are there spaces or pockets for another step or two to kind of help myself out, help make this next one look a little different.
Absolutely. Small changes.
Yeah. Small deposits.
Let's see. That leads us into kind of this next section. I have one more researcher I like to pull to the forefront here. Her name is Carol Dweck. She actually is a psychology professor at Stanford. I believe at some point she was in more than just a professor position, maybe in some leadership roles, but currently she is professor status at Stanford. And she has a pretty prolific book on growth mindset, and she calls it The New Psychology of Success. And she has books, she has TED Talks. You can listen online if you don't have time to read a book. There's a really great audiobook, though, if you're into that while you travel this summer. And I don't remember if she reads it, but whoever the voice actor is does a great job. And she tells you that she wrote the book because these are the tools that she was using with her students, and her students found it so helpful that they asked her to write the book so that they could share it with other people.
That's cool.
So a really neat, like a natural growth for her and for her students.
Yeah.
She's been in the New York Times and on the bestsellers list with this book, but the hope is that it's an invitation to measure your success, not by the end goal, not by reaching that. We'll use physical wellness, for example, not by maybe winning that tournament that you want or becoming an Olympic athlete, or not by becoming the highest and the best within that field, but looking at the process that you take to get to your success.
Yeah.
And finding worth in the journey of it. Just like we were talking about, it's the little investments that matter. In growth mindset, it invites a lot of self-compassion. And it's that you know that you're not immediately going to be an expert at something
Mhm.
or new. Like if you're new at something, it may feel weird. It may feel awkward. You may not feel like you're fluent or are able to keep up with those in the room. But are you able to find joy and curiosity in the learning process? Are you able to still show up and have a good time, even if you weren't perfect at it? And is it still worth doing?
Mhm.
So, wondering your thoughts on this versus how students might utilize this skill, or if you see them doing it or struggling with it.
Yeah. Um, I just see so much value in that mindset, the fostering an appreciation for the process of things. That good things take time, that we we're going to be learners for the rest of our lives, and that's a good thing. I think that can be a really hard mindset to foster, especially in an academic setting, which sounds like it should be a natural part of an academic setting, but I think I at least just see in our students um, a desire to succeed, perform a certain way, perform well. Grades are hard to, it's hard to not be so focused on the outcome or to allow an outcome going a certain way to determine that we're just done for. Kind of like a mindset of, I don't get the grade I want on one test, then maybe I need to withdraw from this class. Like there's room for, growth and adjusting to how this went. Kind of what I was touching on with like trying to cook more right now. Like I'm trying to do things that take process because we just live in a world that doesn't spend much time on things. We can look something up and not have to search for it very long. And there are a lot of things that don't leave a lot of room for that growth process. And so yeah, that all of that to say, I do think it's something that takes some intentionality to like channel with students and just in this world we live in. Yeah, I don't know if that made sense.
No, it did. Yeah. And it almost made me think of like when you hear coaches talk about whether they want, you know, a naturally athletic person or someone who's had to work for their athletic skills.
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to show up differently on the court, on the field as
Mm,
a team member if they've known failure before?
right.
How does that change you? How does that adjust how you approach problem solving and team building and how you show up on the wins and the loses?
Yeah.
Um, and that one doesn't make or break a whole season. It's the whole season
Mhm.
that works towards those statistics and goals and how you start the next year.
Yeah, totally.
Um, I think that leads us to our final point for today. And it's kind of a two-parter in goal setting and understanding that you're going to hit a wall.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of reasons that physical wellness becomes such a struggle for people or even hard to talk about and consider is because they haven't succeeded at something in the past. They didn't reach that goal. They didn't become thinner or stronger or
Yeah.
more balanced, or they weren't able to cook the way they wanted to. I know for me in college, I did not cook at all. I had a roommate that cooked and I helped buy groceries and clean up after, and she was happy to do that. But I was so scared of failing that I just was like, no, I can't help you. I'm so sorry.
Hmm.
Let me prep things for you. Let me be your sous chef and clean up afterwards. And you please make all these decisions and tell me what to do or do it.
Yeah.
And that was a great symbiotic relationship for us. But at some point, I had to learn how to feed myself.
Yes, yes.
And so, what does it look like to goal set? And oftentimes, when I'm working with students or classrooms, we talk about tiny victories.
Hmm.
So, maybe starting with something small, maybe starting at a doctor's appointment. If you haven't been in a while, have some blood work done, see what's happening, see what they encourage. Working with a nutritionist or a personal trainer, finding a professional to help you set those goals.
Hmm.
Um, Give yourself a deadline.
Yeah.
When are you going to do this by? Or in a month, we're going to see how it happened, how it worked. What are some obstacles and barriers, Hannah, that you think students might come up against
Hmm.
as
Well,
they tackle these?
yeah, you touched on one that is the one that I feel like is my major barrier, which is just fear of failure. Like, what if you do all those things and you don't, you know, get that certain half marathon time or get the what if the outcome doesn't pan out the way I thought, or um, just the what we do when we miss a day. The failure response, the just
Mm.
um that can be a major barrier. And then I think a lot of the time, especially in my office, and we just have a pretty powerful capacity to um not realistically see where we are currently. um and a realistic goal has to like accurately see where we are starting from. And so for me, like for going to the doctor example, uh, for example, I have a fear of like finding out more than I want to know. Like I might realize, okay, I'm actually a little more, I mean, for lack of a better word, like behind in this goal than I thought, or like this is going to mean that I have to do three more appointments. Like it's like once we start, it like means
Does it open up?
yeah, what is it?
Mhm.
I think that can be, but what I'm maybe getting at is like a lot of these goals are going to require that we accurately like assess, take inventory of where we are currently. And sometimes that's hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think for that, that particular fear, having providers that understand where your starting point is.
Hmm.
I know like there's some things that since I worked in the medical field, I know that I can ask for that other people may not. Like I
Right.
realize that they will probably take your weight.
Hmm.
I can step on that scale backwards and not look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So like if the number is going to stress me out and discourage me from staying on my goal, I don't have to know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it can be on my chart.
Hmm.
My doctor can know for prescription purposes if they need it.
Yeah.
Um, but just looking and working with doctors that we trust, building those relationships.
Well, and to both of the fears that I mentioned or obstacles that I mentioned, I was thinking a major counter to those is just having someone else along with you, someone that
Mhm.
you do trust and know, like
Yeah.
be your accountability or your sounding board for any of these things. Like,
Hmm.
someone who knows you, is this realistic? Like, do you think I can, you know, is this a good place to start, or do I need to start smaller than this? And will you go with me? Or will you, just ask me if I went? Like,
Yeah.
um,
It's powerful.
yeah.
And I think there's also a encouragement when you feel that someone recognizes how hard you're working. If
Yes,
the effort is acknowledged by someone you trust.
it matters.
Hmm. Like, hey, I missed you. I didn't see you today.
Hmm.
Or, hey, welcome back. We
Yeah.
missed you last week.
Yeah.
I think there's a big invitation there and a big difference of you're presence is meaningful and you were missed if you weren't here.
Definitely. Everybody needs to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So, pivoting a little bit back to this growth mindset.
Yeah.
I think maybe some things that people can think about as they set these goals and plan for obstacles to come up. Traveling in the summer, maybe you
Yes.
get sick and it throws you off balance. Maybe, you pick up an extra job and the shifts mess with your changes. Maybe you're traveling and it's a different time zone. I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but understanding that obstacles will come up and go ahead and make a plan for getting back on track as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just having a quick mental reflection of where growth mindset is easier for you. And the opposite of that is fixed mindset. Like I talked about earlier, I'm not good at cooking, so I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even want to try.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be an example of that fixed mindset. So where in your world are you most likely to listen to the curiosity of growth mindset? I could give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I have fun doing this. Or I'm just not good at that
Yeah.
fixed mindset. And making note of it. You don't have to bully yourself about having either one. Everyone has both, but just noticing where those are most likely to come up. And then setting those tiny victories. If a larger goal is to adjust your eating habits, that single goal is not going to get you to the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe any other thoughts about this, Hannah? I know you kind of see this from lots of different angles. Any final words of wisdom you think students should take with them as they start reflecting on their habits and choices and goal setting?
No, I think I just, I was sitting here, I was glad you said that about reflecting on where the growth mindset might be more natural, and then places where we're more inclined to have more of a fixed mindset. I think that's a helpful way in that kind of taking inventory of where we are currently that I was talking about earlier, that um, kind of recognizing those sticking points, like where is it that I'm way more fixed, is probably going to be where, we might need to start. It's going to be more natural, easier to start somewhere that we're already doing, some growth mindset, some learning and curiosity. And that is a great place to start for that reason, somewhere you already have momentum, but then assessing and like looking at places where you're less flexible, less curious. That just might be a helpful way to do some of that reflecting we were talking about. I just think that was a good means to that reflection and getting to a point of where do I need to start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a courage and a curiosity to press into that sticky part, to press into the hard spaces.
Yeah.
Especially if you find yourself with more free time right now.
Right. This is good. This is good for me too.
Well, it's always good for me. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Hannah, for coming on this week.
Right.
We talked about several resources, about several researchers. I'm going to put all those in the show notes. I don't think I have any handouts this week to put in Bulldog Central, but if anyone is interested, they can always reach out to me. And there's always lots of other materials there that people can sift through and maybe even help them with a starting point. But we will see you all next week. And thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you, Katelyn.